What is up, guys? Welcome to Boomer Base. Today we're here to talk about Solo Leveling Episode 4. So, this episode was fucking insane. I enjoyed this. This is the start of the good shit. We're going straight up from here now, fellas and gals. So, let's get cracking. But before we get to the real content, if you end up liking what you see and want to see more, please subscribe and hit the bell to be notified anytime I upload. So, episode 4. As I spoke about last episode, I just read the entire manga, or manhwa, or webtoon, whatever you want to call it. And so, honestly, I almost wanted to start reading again, but it's too soon to read again for me. Might change as the series goes on. I might just get so hyped that I want to just read it again. But was waiting for this episode because this was the episode where everything was going to start going all uphill in a very, very good way. He is going to really start leveling up now. So where we left off last episode, he was fighting a wolf. And this episode, he fought a lot of wolves. He fought a couple together and things. Then he had to fight a whole pack, and a lot of the first half of this episode was maybe a bit too much narration, maybe not. But it was about him having that mental resolve now, that steely mental resolve to get stronger, to fight monsters, and to think that he is going to win. I think my camera is not as center as it normally is, but yeah, it was still pretty cool. I liked seeing him get that mental fortitude. We saw that he got access to his inventory in terms of he started utilizing it and whatnot. He got a sword out. It was a bit like Kim's sword, he said, in terms of value as well. It was a cool sword, and he basically used that to level up a lot against the wolves. As part and parcel of this was he needed to find a teleport stone or defeat the boss. So after he defeated a bunch of wolves, he got onto some other higher monsters, which I think was like a black wolf, and then I think this kind of like skeleton looking thing. But we only got to saw like a single thing of him fighting those, as with the webtoon again, so we didn't get to see too much of it. But it was nice that he started to finally realise that he, from putting all those stats into strength, he was actually quite strong now. His body felt light, and he was essentially just going around punching, slashing up wolves, which is just cool to watch. It's nice to watch a character that's been through a lot and should be down the plug hole in terms of confidence, in terms of mental fortitude. He should be like how the orange lady, I can't remember what her name is, Wuji, I don't know. I'm actually going to Google what her name is. Orange head lady solo leveling. What's her name? Because it'll just literally it'll bother me so much. Lee Joo-hee. Oh, I think I was closer then. Lee Joo-hee. Like her character, as you see later in the episode, is still struggling after the events of the double dungeon, and the nice smiling stone statue. But our main character, he's got that steely resolve now. He's ready to get stronger, and after defeating a bunch of wolves, he gets the title Wolf Assassin, which is quite cool. So it means that basically anytime he fights like beast monsters, he, I think, can do a little bit more damage and things. But that was pretty cool. And then we take a big straight dive down into the boss fight, which in the webtoon, manga, manhwa, whatever you want to call it, was quite a quick fight in all honesty, whereas they fleshed out a lot more in this, and I think it, for the most part, was cool that they did that. So one thing we learned before we came down to the bosses, that pretty much white names mean that the monster you should be able to beat, oranges probably can beat it, but a bit tough, and red is just, you probably shouldn't fight this, or you have a chance of dying, or more chance of dying. In which he comes down and he finds the blue snake, in which that was orange, but I think it had a name, solo leveling. Probably should have just like cut all this out as well. The blue venom fanged Casca, in which, oh dear, sorry, which was just very, very cool in all honesty. It was just a giant blue snake that came out from the gate, whacked him a new one, took the wind out of him. The fight was very, very cool. We saw a lot of how our main character basically was having to overcome that steely resolve yet again. It was a tough character. You know, he'd been called the weakest, E ranker and the weakest hunter there is, which I think he probably actually was, and it was sort of about overcoming that, feeling like he does stand a chance now. He is getting stronger, which was really, really cool. His sword at this point shatters and things, and he's trying to cut through the scales of the snake, which are very, very tough and durable. So he's struggling a lot. He's getting kind of knocked around left, right, and centre. Meanwhile, we kind of see that Lee Joo-hee has been called because there's been a dungeon break from the dungeon that we saw last time, and that they need a healer, as healers are in short supply. But going with the fight with the blue venomed fanged Casca, I'm going to have to keep looking at the name, otherwise I'll forget. Essentially, what happens is he does a bunch of like flipping around and stuff against the boss, you know, trying to slice it, but having no real avail. And then we kind of get this sort of, which I'll use in the thumbnail, this kind of really cool aura, sort of like, I'm strong, I'm gonna do this type of look from him, which is really cool. I'm all for those, and I'm looking forward to so many of them in the webtoon to come. I just fell off my desk then slightly. But no, then he decides to kind of hang on to the snake and really use his like strength ability that he's got from leveling up, and he basically just starts fucking squeezing the shit out of the snake. And he actually just squeezes it to death, which is really, really, really cool. He gets a very cool dagger that can apply paralysis, and it's like double the strength of the sword he had. It's a C-class weapon as well, so it looks very, very cool. It's a dagger that you kind of see in the what's it called? The intro. And then he gets this poison that we'll see what he does with that later on. Of course, I know what he does with it, but as I mentioned with these, I'm not going to talk about any spoilers for the webtoon, so stay tuned for what he does for that. We'll see that probably get used in a few episodes' time, and what he decides to do with it. And then what happens is the dungeon finishes, and whatnot. He's had a few other items from beating the wolves. He's got a couple of daggers, a cloak, and just some other bits and bobs, and just mentioning things. But once he has beaten the boss, you know, it's a very, very cool moment. It's nice that our character has basically gone through this dungeon after being the weakest. He's leveled up, and he's taken the dungeon that I think, even the dungeon that we saw them go in, where it was the double dungeon, prior to that double dungeon bit, this dungeon was much stronger to me, in my head, than that dungeon. So he's, you know, gone above and beyond. He's absolutely smashed it to the park for this episode for me in terms of character growth. I've really, really enjoyed that. And essentially, the dungeon finishes, he arrives back in the train station, he comes up the stairs, and suddenly this guy with a gun comes, and he's like, what are you doing here? Have you not heard all of what's going on? And he's like, no. Obviously, you can't tell him he's been in a dungeon, but then you see the guy with the gun sees the sword, and he's like, are you a hunter? And he's like, yes. And he's like, go on, I'll take you to where the sort of monster is, because there's been a dungeon break. And he basically goes and surveys what's going on, and there's a bunch of different hunters of varying classes fighting this giant blue golem, and they've managed to handle most things, but they are struggling with this man. They can't seem to damage him at all, and our main character gets the broken sword that he just uses his strength power and just pings a javelin throw at that thing, and it breaks the defense in one go, and they're able to then finish off him. And everyone in the group, bar one person, thought, yeah, we've managed to finally beat it with attrition. But that one guy saw that sword get thrown, and he was like, who was that? Lee Joo-hee also sees him, or thinks, and she kind of goes, Jinwoo? Type of thing with a question mark. But overall, a very good episode. We got first boss beaten, we got title Wolf Slayer, we got a fucking dagger, and it looks sick. And I'm so sad that I've got to wait another week again for the episode. But the voice actor for our main character did a banging job with his sort of screaming and, you know, overcoming this episode. Really, really good. Animation was really, really good. It was fluid, it was nice, the fight scenes looked really cool. All the sound effects were really, really cool as well, and I just love seeing our main character get stronger, and it's only going to get better from here. But I can make peace with that. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and tune in to next week's episode of Solo Leveling. I'm glad everyone's enjoying it. Take care now. Bye-bye. Hey, thank you for watching the video. Click the button to keep watching, or click the other video for more videos, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.